Today, I am going to rank all of the upcoming Star Wars movies in terms of how excited I am for them. Over the years, Lucasfilm has announced many different Star Wars movies that they planned on making that all pretty much ended up getting cancelled, and some of these cancelled movies included the Rogue Squadron movie that would have been directed by the director of Wonder Woman 84, which was by far one of the worst comic book movies of all time, so I'm glad it got cancelled. Rian Johnson was supposed to get another full trilogy for himself even after the disaster of the sequels, but once again I'm glad it got cancelled. And another one that I remember off the top of my head was the unnamed Star Wars movie that Kevin Feige was going to direct, but yet again for whatever reason it got cancelled. Luckily today we have a set of 5 confirmed Star Wars movies that Disney has actually started working on and recently confirmed that are still being made. So to start off this ranking, in the number 5 spot I'm picking the Lando movie. Obviously, as a Star Wars fan, I still have some level of excitement for this movie despite the fact that I got it dead last on the list, but there are a couple reasons as to why I am not as excited for this movie or getting my hopes up compared to the others on this list. This movie was originally set to be a Disney Plus series but was then changed into being a movie, and it was announced over 4 years ago, and still to this day it has not started any level of production, and we have gotten no news on it besides one statement that Kathleen Kennedy made about having to wait for Donald Glover's schedule to open up so he can take the time to make the movie. If he hasn't had the time to work on this movie for over 4 years, it just makes me believe that he just isn't interested in making this movie. But personally, I believe that it's actually Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm that have frozen this project and not allowed it to be made yet because they have been afraid to release a Star Wars movie for years. Now, even though this is my least anticipated Star Wars movie, I still believe it has the potential to be great. Since this movie is supposed to be a sequel to the Solo movie, I would be very interested to see what they do with Darth Maul in live action, and I think it would be really cool to see how Lando interacts with Maul and opposes him and Qi'ra as they rule the underworld and the crime syndicates in the galaxy. In the number 4 spot, I'm going to put the Rey movie. Listen, I'm not hating on the fact that this movie is being made like a lot of people out there, because I do believe there are a lot of interesting concepts and storylines they could work with. Apparently, the movie is supposed to focus on Rey rebuilding the Jedi Order after all the events in the sequels, and I think this is a very interesting idea that could take many interesting turns. Rey would definitely face issues building up a new Jedi Order like anyone would, and it would be nice to see her turn to Luke Skywalker's Force Ghost for guidance, because as we have seen in the sequels and the Book of Boba Fett, Luke has experience with building a new Jedi Order from scratch, and he made mistakes that led to its fall, so he could teach Rey how to avoid these mistakes and do it properly. There's also the potential of seeing Kylo Ren as a Force Ghost, and even the potential to see an all grown-up Grogu helping out Rey to build the Order as well. So if done correctly, I believe this movie could save Rey's legacy. In the 3rd spot, and this is where it gets hard for me to pick because these top 3 options are all interchangeable to me, but I'm going to pick the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. I saw a good amount of people mad at the fact that the Mandalorian season 4 got turned into a movie, but personally I like the idea because the Mandalorian and Grogu are the face of Star Wars right now, and if anyone deserves to be on the big screen, it's them. And after the Mandalorian season 3 being a bit of a letdown compared to the first 2 seasons, I think it's smart for Star Wars to try something new with Mando and Grogu. Also, just because they are getting a movie does not mean the show won't be getting more seasons in the future, which is something I saw a lot of people scared of, so I don't see a problem with this at all. Just imagine how incredible it's going to be seeing the Mandalorian and Grogu on the big screen with a movie budget. Yes, the show already looks incredible effects wise, but the Star Wars movie's effects are just on another level due to the higher budgets and 2-hour screen time compared to around 8 hours. This will also be the first time that Dave Filoni gets to write a live action Star Wars movie, so I know for a fact he's going to pour his heart into this project. And Jon Favreau, the co-creator of The Mandalorian, is also directing the movie, so I trust he's going to go absolutely crazy. In 2nd place, I'm picking the Dawn of the Jedi movie. So far, all we know about this movie is that it's going to focus on the origin of the first ever Jedi in all of Star Wars, and it's going to be directed by James Mangold, who directed Logan. I believe that an origin story of the first ever Jedi has the potential to be one of the greatest Star Wars stories of all time, and the possibilities of what they could do with the Force and the world building is literally endless. This movie could dive deep into the origins of the Force itself. It It could show us the creation of the first ever lightsaber. We could also see the story of the first ever dark side user or Sith, because with the creation of a Jedi, there has to be something to oppose it. And we could even see the beginnings of the Jedi Order and the Sith Order. The concept of this movie alone is enough to get me excited, and this is a project that I hope Star Wars takes very seriously, because this is the origin of the Jedi we are talking about here. Star Wars only gets one chance with this movie because you can only do an origin story once, and if they mess it up, they can't just remake it, and it could damage the brand and the lore even worse than the sequels did. Finally, in the number 1 spot, I'm picking the Heir to the Empire movie. This movie has been described to be a culmination of all the Mandoverse projects, which include Ahsoka, the Book of Boba Fett, and of course The Mandalorian, and it will be directed by none other than Dave Filoni. It is about time that Star Wars gave Dave Filoni his own movie to direct after the incredible job that he's done with the Clone Wars, Rebels, The Mandalorian, and even Tales of the Jedi. And the concept he has for this movie sounds like it's going to be an Infinity War and Endgame level event. We've already started to see the setup for this movie in the Ahsoka series, with Thrawn being able to escape from Peridea into the main Star Wars galaxy, and it's pretty obvious that he is going to be the main antagonist of this movie, especially because the supposed title of the movie is the same title as the Heir to the Empire books, which were about Thrawn. I've never read these books, but I know they are some of the most loved Star Wars novels, and with the setup being done in the Ahsoka show, The Mandalorian, and even in the Luke Skywalker episodes, it's pretty clear that Dave Filoni is going to try and adapt concepts from these novels into the movie. This is definitely my most anticipated Star Wars movie at the moment, but let me know in the comments which movie you guys are most excited for. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already, because I'm definitely going to be making a video about the top 5 upcoming Star Wars shows and games very soon.